So David, we're just over the halfway mark of the January transfer window. For you, how has it gone so far?
It's gone well. We're 20 days in. Probably starts, to the average sort of fan who doesn't know about, what the window means. I think when you look at probably 2 months before, 2 months before you start doing your work, you start looking at your targets. The market's fluid. It doesn't stop. And you're looking at positions. You're looking at what might happen. You're looking at the form of the team. You're looking at the players in the team, who's performing, and there's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes, and it's a collective effort, but it's one that doesn't really stop. Good recruitment doesn't really stop. I think people think that it starts on January the 1st and ends on, as soon as the window's shut, this window's shut, we'll be then looking at other targets and future targets, because you just don't know. We've got good players in our team. We've got a very good squad, and you don't know who's going to maybe have a late bid for your players, who's in form. You've got to look at the market forces and supply and demand and see where it's at. So a good club or a good business is built off recruitment. And I think it's really important to understand that there's been a busy 2-month period before this that we've been doing the work, having a look at the data, making sure that they fit into our system, make sure that they fit into what we're trying to achieve on the football pitch. And it's been a busy 6 months, if I'm being honest, because there's been so much to do from last season, and the overall of so many players, the introduction of so many new players, and then you get to what is our sort of second window at the club, right in the middle of the January window, and you want to try and keep balancing the squad, keep nourishing the squad, keep developing it.
You mentioned the 2 months prior, obviously potentially a bit more of looking at the data and looking at matches. December was difficult for football because of COVID. I mean, we had games cancelled. A load of other games were cancelled away from ours. So does that make scouting and make kind of the recruitment process more difficult, or do you rely on data a lot more?
It's a great question. I think what you've got at that point is, and it's what we're trying to build, and it's sort of remote scouting. So through COVID, certainly Europe, America, the best clubs in England, they could carry on the scouting. And what they've found, like any good business, they found that to keep your business going, you had to look at other methods. You had to be flexible. You couldn't go to a solicitor, so you had to then use a thing called DocuSign, and everything become electronic. There's some brilliant products that we've invested in now that we're watching games, we're watching live games, watching pre-recorded games, but it's from a wide angle, it's from a wide lens, it's from a point of you can now see the functionality of the player, how he runs for the team. When it was closed in on the player, a bit like you watch football in isolation, now you can watch it and watch the player in a team. So a wide player that all you want to see is what he does on the ball, you can now see off the ball. So there is some really good products, and we did invest in them. That kept us watching games, it kept us focused, it kept us, recruiting to the plan. And again, it's updating the club, it's moving the club forward. These are systems that the club's never had, they've never invested in. It's there was a real scatterbomb approach to what happened previous to the owners, to our owners coming in. But being the business that Carol, Kevin and Synetics are in, it's easy to go and ask for technology because it's a technology-based company. So when you go and asking that and rationalising that, you need them systems because you can get a lot of coverage. You're getting a lot of coverage, you're getting a lot of recent coverage, watching the 23s games, every Monday night, every Monday afternoon, Friday nights, Thursdays and Sundays, there's games being played and games you can track, games you can monitor. And we're building a system now to help us do that. It's not there, it's in its infancy, but it's a system that served us well through that period because you're still tracking games that was going ahead, possibly behind closed doors, or the 23s.
Let's talk about our incomings. We've got 4 in new players so far, 2 loan players, 2 kind of under 23s. There was Kian and Ryan who came in from Ryan. Left another club that he was on loan to join us. Kian was potentially going to be in and around the first team in the Championship and then come and join us. We've also been joined by Connor Hall and Chris Hussey. Just talk to us about those 4, the kind of recruitment process, the thoughts behind those players that we've brought in.
Yeah, I think again, coming to the start of January, you start looking at George Lloyd and what was the situation with George. We are probably unprecedented just before January, early December, last part of November in the injuries. I've not seen it before. I've seen a balance where you've probably got 4 injuries at a time, and usually it's across the board. So you might have a defender, 2 midfielders, 2 strikers, 1 striker injured. To have 5 all out and to have 5, injured, and certainly our 2 highest performing strikers, Wilson and Prox, for them to be out with 2, quite big injuries, then you start looking at the market. Strikers become a real focus. We've done quite a lot of work on Ryan because he's someone who's come up in the past. I've always been tracking him as a player, mobile target man. Again, that type of player is usually someone in the 30s that have been around the game and that know how to play as a target striker. A lot of the times now in the academies, we're breeding number 10s, we're breeding a smaller striker, we're breeding a player that can run off the shoulder. So when you keep tracking him, track Ryan for quite a number of years, the environment's important. So when we looked at Leeds' environment under Victor Orta and what they're trying to build under Bielsa, anytime you watch the 23s, it is absolutely phenomenal watching Leeds do what they do, and the intensity, the pace of what they do in the 23s. So it's a really good environment to go and get from. So that was important when we looked at Proc being injured for this period. I think with Kian, again, that's live tracking. That's when you go and watch a player and you see something that fits the model that was after, the George Lord type, run on the shoulders, play off a Proc, play off a Wills, play in and around, David and Moo. So when you start looking at that profile, and that's what you want, and that's what you're searching for, and we're all aligned to that thinking, then when you see it, it does stand out. It does stand out. We tracked. I think the biggest thing with that is where the club's come from in a short space of time in terms of recruitment, because, Huddersfield are a club that are producing good players. It's a good environment, and it was important that they saw what the club could do for them. We could only sell that with what we'd done with Dennis, and how we'd looked after Dennis and Lewis Cass. So then you're selling a good environment, which we do offer. We do offer young players. We offer championship clubs, premiership clubs, a really good home. And you could call it a club, but I call it an home. I call that, you're looking for a landing spot. You're looking for a place to go and put a player in. And are they looked after? Is the welfare looked after? Is the football, are they going to develop? Are they going to develop as people? The manager's built a brilliant environment with Kroos and Dino, and that management structure around them is championship level. So we've built that. We can offer that so that they know that the players are coming to a good level. We've got the sports science, which is important. We've got our chef who's linked up. All that's really important. 2 or 3 years ago, you was hearing horror stories of young kids going out and not putting any muscle mass on, putting body fat on, getting injured, getting subsequent injuries, reoccurrence injuries. And when you hear the horror stories from the Premiership teams, you understand then that they want a good home, they want a good environment, and we do offer one. And we didn't think we'd get Kian, we really didn't. It was a bit of a call that was possibly for the summer, for a season long. That's how it was feeling at the start of the conversation. By the end of the conversation, it turned into Kian really wanted to come. He really wanted to be a part of what we're selling, the environment, what we offer as people, the environment that he's coming to, Carol's ownership and the way that she, cares about people and looks after people. And we had a plan for him. We showed him David Worrell's cross percentage. We showed him how Tom Conlon, Tom Pett, Ben Garrity can find you, Brad Walker. We've got midfielders that can pick you out, running on the shoulders. So it was a combined plan. And I think that's different to our summer recruitment, because we couldn't show any of that because there was such a turnover of players. So it ended up being a situation where we've got that now. We're 6 months in front of ourselves. We are offering a brilliant environment. We do things right at the football club. Colin Garlick saw some outstanding apartments that the lads, feel part of. They've got their own They've got their own environment away from the football club that is professional and that is looked after. So we've set a lot of things in place that make us a brilliant home for Premiership players and Championship players. And if they want to do their homework and if they want to get references from, Shola Amiobi, who's the loans manager at Newcastle, and Chris Martland, who's the director of football at Bolton, we'd get brilliant references, and that's important when you're building something for the future.
You mentioned the presentations, and that's something which comes up a lot with the new lads, especially when they get interviewed by the press, when they speak, when you just ask them what was it about Port Vale, because it's a genuine question that we want to know. They always go, the setup here, but it always comes back to those presentations, those conversations, those intricate details that go in. For you, in this role, just how much does that mean to you personally, hearing that? Obviously you and the team, like you've got Tommy in there, kind of creating this kind of atmosphere, this work ethic. How much does it mean to you to hear those lads say that?
It's massive because, I'm a family man. I love creating an environment at home. I had a brilliant upbringing. I had a brilliant family. So you've got to create that here. I'm lucky that I'm working with an owner that absolutely amplifies them values and understands them values. So it's genuine. When we present to anyone, it's genuine. We can offer what we're going to say we can offer. We can offer the best food we can. We can offer the best accommodation. We've got a brilliant management team that when you come onto our training ground, every bit of detail is looked after and cared for. We've got an excellent medical department and a sports science department. So you're offering something good. It's genuine. I don't have to sit there and convince someone. I'm just telling them truthfully what we've put in place, what we can offer. And if you come to my house, you get looked after. You get a brew. You get looked at, with the love. And if you want to stay over, you can stay over. The spare bedroom's always available. That is how I've lived my life. That's how my family's always lived their life. And then when you've got the support that I've got to build that, it makes it very easy. So it's not a sale. It's not a sale. It's not a pitch. It's not a sale. We're not saying come. The difference that Tommy Johnson makes to the football club is he pieces together, if this is the striker, if this is the wide player, these are the combinations, this is how you get your overloads, this is how you get your overlaps, this is where you're going to play in the system, this is who you're going to be connected to, this is why we want you from a football perspective. So the two things are aligned. They know the reason they're coming into the team, they know the reason they're coming to the football club, and I think them two things are the strongest part of any presentation, you having a plan and having a plan for the player. And the big question is always the why. Why do we want that player, but why do they want to choose Port Vale? And when you can align them two whys, you get the answer. And the answer's always in, they want to come for the right reasons. They've got to want to come for the football reasons because that's what we're all here for. I think the obsession that we all have with creating a winning culture, but you've got to create a good culture first before you get the winning culture. And them are the two things. And when you're getting young players especially, they've had a world full of development. So from, probably 12 to 16 to 18, it's about development. What changes over here is, right, this is winning now. And the clubs like that. There is a massive emphasis on that shift from develop as a player to now the only thing that matters is winning. And, now it's about teaching Kian that winning goals is the most special thing in the world, Goals are goals, but winning goals, and we saw as fans last night, Tottenham getting 2 late goals to win a football. That's what football's about. That's what football was created for. That the fans can always feel that we have got a chance of being in a game and staying in a game, and that's the difference that the Premiership, the Championship clubs want to send. That's the next part of their education. That they're coming into a winning environment, and that's what the manager and Kroos and Dino, that's what they epitomise.
Let's talk about a couple of the outgoings that we've seen this month. It's always difficult to say goodbye to players. You mentioned there the atmosphere in and around the club. It does genuinely feel like a family when you're in and around. Players like Leon Legg, obviously his time spent at the club, fond memories of FA Cup ties, leading us out. He was our club captain. He was a fan's favourite as well. We said goodbye to him. George Lloyd recalled because of an injury. It's difficult when something like that happens. Yeah. And obviously Dennis Politic, who it's another kind of outgoing which ultimately became out of our hands in the manner that he's kind of moved on and potentially moving elsewhere as well. Talk to us about that, because that can't be easy decisions to make, but ultimately for the football club it's got to be the right decision at the right time. We mentioned Ryan Johnson, an offer came in for him that we wouldn't have said no to. We gave him the option. Talk to us about that.
You know, that's probably the easiest question that I'll ever have to answer, because Leon Legg, you know, and people do forget that, you know, when I first come into this building, Leon Legg wasn't really training with the first team. He'd been sort of isolated from the group, which was quite unbelievable to see someone like Leon. I remember the first day of training, it was at St George's. I went down to watch it. It was a freezing cold day, and Leggy's there, sleeves up, rolled up, this absolute beast of a man, still training at his fullest, still training and epitomising what. And I pulled him over first day and I said, "What's going on, Lee?" I said, "You know, I'm new in, just tell me what's going on." And I've just been sidelined and that's the way it is. But I said, "But then I've watched you train like an absolute beast today, do you know what I mean?" He said, "You're a credit to your family, you're a credit to the football club." I said, "And, you know, I was that type of player." And I said, "What's important for me is I would love to be in the trenches with you." And we had that talk about, you know, being a warrior, and you gravitate in the game towards them people. You gravitate towards the managers that work hard. And Leon, I just gravitated to him. When the gaffer then come in after a couple of weeks after I come in, he saw the same qualities. He saw the same value, and you know, put Leon in. And this season, how it's progressed and how the centre art, you know, our goals conceded record is good, and the way that we set up's good. It looks different from last season. It is different from last season. That had a space in time. Then you start looking at Leon, and with his service to the football club, we said to him, if there is ever an offer come in that gives you an 18-month deal, then we'd have to let you speak to the club. We'd have to honour it. And then if you wanted to leave, that's your choice. But Leon's gone and earned his family another year on top of this season. And, you know, Leon's not getting any younger. So it was a decision we made. And, you know, we stand by them decisions. But somebody who will be remembered, someone who will be revered as an opposition, but somebody who, when he comes to the club, and any time he comes to the club, be absolutely loved, because, you know, he's left that impression on people. And you have time zones. Every club has time zones with players. We was lucky enough to have Leon for, you know, I only was here for 10 months with Leon with him serving as a player, and he was outstanding. So you have them times. Dennis Politic, a bit more of an interesting one, because I'd worked with Dennis. Dennis wasn't sort of guesswork. Worked with Dennis, and he'd ripped up League One when we was in League One. When I was at Bolton's assistant manager, done a lot of work with Dennis as on the grass, coaching him, spending time with him. The one thing I loved about Dennis was, if you couldn't find Dennis, and some young pros didn't do the work at Bolton, but he did, he was always at the training ground. The thing I loved about Dennis, he'd give you as a coach the energy. He'd stay out more, he'd stay out longer, he'd practice his free kicks, he'd practice his shift and shoot. And I loved working with him at Bolton, brought him here. Obviously, he was injured from the start, quite a bad injury. We wanted to see how that goes. Got game time that, you know, he massively affected for his minutes on the pitch. He massively affected. We offered Bolton terms. We offered Bolton a fee for him. We tried to get Dennis over the line. We weren't far off. Then, you know, an Italian club comes in, and Dennis, obviously, it's something that Dennis wanted to do. And I think that when we spoke about it and spoke about the football side of it, they potentially got a chance to get into Serie A. Serie B now, 45 an hour away from Milan. And it was something that Dennis wanted to do. He was brave enough to do it as a young player. The financial package was fantastic for Dennis. But I think it was a football decision for Dennis. So we got pipped. We got pipped to the post. But again, the club would have backed me, backed the manager. The big thing for me is that he can play the levels, and he's playing in League Two, but I believe he can play in the levels. My only, and this again for Dennis really, that I've spoke to Dennis on this, that I believe strongly he could play in the Championship, and then you never know from there. Still a young player. And when you go abroad at a young age, sometimes you can get lost within the system abroad and move around quite a lot. And maybe he doesn't come back to the Championship. But, you know, there's something in me saying that the club, will work with Dennis Politic one day. It might not go well. I hope it does. But there's always a home here for Dennis, and he knows that. You know, the fans loved him. You know, I think the world of the kid, and I just want him to do well. The bottom line, like Leggy, just want him to do well. I think the Ryan Johnson, a bit different. We got him to play left side centre half. Dan Jones come in and really nailed down that position, nailed it down, forced himself into that position. He's been aggressive this season with it. He's been athletic with it. His service and his quality has been brilliant on his switch play, and in a strange way, it's got David Worrell involved with his left foot switch play, who's one of the best providers in the league. So Ryan wasn't playing. We'd spoke to him. He'd give him a chance to link up with Dave Challoner, who you know he'd already had previous, and they've had a brilliant sort of relationship together. And Stockport offered us a deal that was good for the club. We've protected that deal with a sell-on. We've made sure that it's good business. And I've come into a club that was having, I couldn't believe it, was having to pay players to leave the football club, you know, and we've completely transferred that thinking. Now, you know, we've made money on a player that hasn't played as much as what we'd have hoped, but because, you know, the other players were performing. Lloydie, it almost brings football to light. Young player who you saw his energy, you saw his enthusiasm for the game. And it's just a shame that he's not been able to carry on that loan period with us. But then it gives the football world, then gives Kean an opportunity then, you know, because then you're looking for, you know, the successor to Lloydie. So does that cover the players that have moved on?
I think we said, I said I'd steal you for 10 minutes. It's been 20 minutes. One more question for you, Flicker, before you go and work very hard. Got 11 days left of the transfer window. What can Vale fans expect?
I think there'll be more movement. A window's always fluid. You want to be proactive, but as well, you have to be reactive as well with what we've not got set up at the minute and not got the structure as where we want it. We're in our infancy. We'll build out towards that, but it's fluid. It's ever moving. You know, that's a question that the board asks me probably every 2 or 3 days, and it's an answer that there's grey areas. There's always grey areas. You just don't know what's going to happen, and we certainly. We've certainly got a touch more work to do. You know, we've lost Dennis, lost Jake Taylor to injury. Scott and Danny's, you know, moved on. So we're looking a touch light, but we're not going to rush it. We've not panicked. Like I said, the Ryan Kean signings was probably done, you know, building up towards the end of December. You know, so working on them to get them over the line early doors. The Connor Hall and Chris Hussies have come from, again, that being offered to Leggy. That gives us an opportunity to bring in sort of a younger centre half who naturally plays on the left side. So again, for your squad balance and your team balance, and Chris Hussey's been a top operator at this level. You know, over the last 3-5 years, 4 promotions on his CV, knows how to get promotions. The games, as we move towards the business end of the season, will get more important. And that's knowledge, that's know-how, that's being there, that's being in that situation, that's having experience. You know, so 2 signings there that have given us some more knowledge to the squad, more depth to the squad. But we're continually looking. We've discussed only 2 days ago looking at like a younger pro model with nothing between 18s and 21s because nothing's come through from the academy for quite a long time now. So, but that's a project for the summer. That's when things might just settle down a bit. We focus on that. This is all about the now, the immediate, getting resource and nourishment into our first team resources. Nothing underneath, because it's really important that we focus. That's where our focus is, and there is so much work to do at the club. It's just really important that we do focus on the now, focus on this next 10 days. But yeah, it's a crazy busy time, but a busy time for everyone. Everyone's in the same boat, and it's something you enjoy, and hopefully this interview has made our supporters understand that a good club is recruiting all the time. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop because you never know when your next injury is. You never know when somebody might come and bid something that's a deal that you have to take at that time. Did we ever think that Newcastle had paid 25 million for Chris Woods? Probably got double his value, but did Burnley ever want to do that business? Probably not. But the deal was so good, it had to get done. So you just never know. The world of football always surprises you. And when you've been in it as long as we've been in it, it doesn't surprise you. I think the biggest thing for me and the biggest thing I've been able to bring is that no emotion. That it's not, you can't get a motive. I've played with fans' favourites before. I've sold fan favourites on. I've got rid of fans' favourites, and we can't get emotion like that. I think at times Port Vale have. We've got to keep recruiting towards a system where we believe that it's going to have success for the football club. And that's something that I can promise everyone, who I work for and work with, and our supporters being them people that we work with and work for, that all the decisions we're based in the best interest of the football club, and there's no emotion attached to it, because once you make emotional decisions, you get caught up. Oh, let's give that player another year. Let's get him another year. Your squad suddenly becomes an aging squad. A squad that can't run, can't operate, can't do the figures you want it to do, and that's something that we work hard at.